If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson tries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law of Life provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law of Life with Gary C. Johnson and Keith Casebolt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law of Life. I'm Keith Casebolt. For the last 22 years, it's been a privilege to sit across from my friend, the creator of this program, Gary C. Johnson. Good to see you today.
Privileged to have you be here, my friend.
What a blessing for us to be here for 22 years.
Amen.
And if anybody's been listening to you and me for 22 years, thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you.
Heaven help you. You're a saint.
Yes. Yes, to be with us that long.
How you folks doing out there? I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're not criticizing, condemning, and complaining. I hope you're not making assumptions and pouting over imagined slights.
95% of all of our problems. I have finally come to that conclusion. Maybe 99% of all of our problems. Is assuming, yes.
Well, you should never assume anything. But we all do it. But my friends that are listening are doing it less and less and less.
It saves a lot of anguish, doesn't it?
And my friends are starting to understand about the thoughts and thinking. And there's nothing wrong with thinking. You have to think to survive. You have to plan to survive. You have to figure things out to survive. You don't have to relive every bad thing that's ever happened in your past to survive.
No.
And you don't have to worry about everything in the future that you don't know what's really going to happen. You always, when you think in the future and start worrying and what-ifing, that's when you start being miserable.
You'll love this. The other day, the wife and I were having a little discussion that we weren't agreeing on, and she was getting a little bit more emotional on her side, and suddenly she looked at me and said, I know right now what you're thinking about. And I said, if you won't get mad, I'll tell you. She said, I promise I won't get mad. I said, I'd love to have a hamburger. So she started laughing, and she said, out of all the things that I thought you were thinking, that was not what I thought. I said, I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
That's reality.
That's reality. So we think that the other individual is scheming, plotting, planning, thinking all these big things, and in reality,
they want just a hamburger.
They just want a hamburger. Lots of lettuce.
A little piece of mind.
Big dill pickle, lots of lettuce, and just a good, maybe a slice of cheese. Yeah. You know, that's what I was thinking.
Let's get this argument over with so I can go find my hamburger.
But isn't that the truth?
It's the truth.
99 times out of 100, when you think or you assume that somebody is thinking these dastardly deeds against you, the truth of the matter is they're probably thinking about a hamburger.
Or a big piece of pie.
Yeah. Peanut butter, of course. You are right.
The thing about it is we keep trying to help our friends get through this world.
And you know what?
Be a little bit happy, right?
I had someone ask me the other day, they said, you and Gary are trying to find this happiness, and I've noticed that you guys are laughing the whole time on the program talking about it. I said, we're having fun doing it.
It is. It's great fun.
We haven't got there. We don't know the answers. We can't solve all the things about being human, but doggone if we aren't laughing and having a good time trying to figure it out.
We're trying to learn one ninth step on this thinking.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's it.
But I'm convinced in these books when they're talking about the thinking being bad, they're not talking about the positive thinking.
I agree 100%.
They're only talking about reliving everything in your life that you think you should have done different over and over and over.
Playing the same movie.
Playing it over. And those are the things that make you the most miserable, that you can't possibly change any of it. But yet our thoughts, boom, boom, boom. And that's what Nancy Collier in her book, Can't Stop Thinking, is talking about. She said, you need to try to just witness those thoughts.
Gary,
and not buy into them.
Isn't that what they call the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over, but expecting a different result?
Well, we don't know we're insane
no,
when we do that.
But she's kind of pointing it out. It is insane to relive something that happened 10 years ago that you can't do nothing about and try to figure out a different answer to it. It's not going to come.
And worrying about things you can't change in the future.
You see, that's a good point, because what you're going to tell us is there are things that are going on in our lives right now that we can do something about.
Right. We worry about the things in the future that we can't do anything about.
Yeah.
We worry about, well, what's about the national debt? I can't do anything about it. I sure as heck can't pay it off.
Well, I was going to say, I looked in my wallet. You and I are not going to put a dent in it.
I saw a sign that said every American citizen owes $86,000. We might as well go ahead and declare bankruptcy.
Absolutely. Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And they keep increasing. So should we worry about it? No. It's going to be what it's going to be. The greatest saying, I'm convinced, that we ought to adopt, my friends, is it could be good, it could be bad, time will tell.
Probably the biggest lesson that you've taught me in my life. Because as I look back over the last 22 years, some of the things that I thought were going to be fantastic turned out to be horrible. Some of the things that I anguished over and said, oh, this is horrible, turned out to be fantastic. And the truth of the matter is, I had no idea where they were going.
But yet, you paid the price in advance.
I absolutely did.
So remember, friends, anything comes up, something is really bad going to happen in your mind. It could be good, it could be bad, time will tell. It's like we've been preparing in my office, with my attorneys in the Louisville office, for a mediation all week. And we got word yesterday it was probably going to be canceled in the next few days. The attorneys were, wondering about it and tanking, talking, and, woe is us, we've done all this work. They looked over at me, and I swear this is exactly what I said. I said, could be good, could be bad, time will tell. This morning, found out mediation's back on.
Yeah.
We're going to be having it, no problem. Could be good, could be bad, time will tell.
So there's the deal. All of the anguish that was put in by everybody else, what's happened, what's going on, is there big news? And you're sitting over here going, time will tell. You didn't put yourself through it.
I didn't waste my time worried about it.
And lo and behold, everything came back around.
Time told.
Yeah.
So just remember that, folks. If I don't teach you anything on this program, on your road to trying to be happy, learn that. When something happens, it could be good, it could be bad, time will tell. Okay, Keith, what are we going to do today anyhow?
Well, last night on our television show that aired in Eastern Kentucky on WYMT, you had some major information about the Philips CPAP machine. And that show is going to air in Central Kentucky on WKYT late night, and it's also going to be early morning on the Fox affiliate. So individuals are going to get to see the machine and a lot of the information. But pretty major news on that, Gary.
Well, have you got it there in front of them so you can share it with them?
I do. Yeah, when you sent me this, I was just absolutely shocked by it. But if you or a loved one has acquired an illness or an injury, and it's due to the recently recalled Philips CPAP machine, you need to give Gary a call at 1-800-337-4002, or it's Gary at GaryCJohnson.com, because there's a chance that you could receive compensation that you deserve for those injuries. And this is the shocker that got me because of a defect, and I'll let you talk about that because I don't want to misstate anything. But individuals using that machine so that they won't stop breathing in the middle of the night could have got lung cancer, lung damage, pneumonia, asthma, breathing difficulty, kidney cancer, colon cancer, heart attack, heart failure, stroke, respiratory failure, airway irritation, liver disease, or kidney disease, and there's a list more of other symptoms that could have been caused from this machine that people have been depending on for their life.
The noise filter thing that they put in there, the sponge, would break down.
Mm-hmm.
And when it broke down, the particles, the people would breathe them. And those things were dangerous, those particles. And that's what caused the problem. And that's why they recalled them. I mean, there's like 3.5 million of them out there that people have been using. It's untelling how much harm they've done.
And Gary, I've already talked to a couple of people since you gave me this notice that had them and said, oh, it got recalled and I sent my machine back. And you had talked on the television program about trying to hold on to it, but if you have to send it back to get the new one, take pictures of it, the serial number, document everything.
They want them back because in a product liability case, you're supposed to have the product.
Mm-hmm.
And once you send it back, they then have the product.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you can keep from sending it back, don't send it back. If you can get you another one.
If possible.
Yeah. If possible, hang on to it.
You send me mine first, and I'll send you mine later.
Yeah.
That way
you ship me mine, and then I'll ship you.
That way you can hold on to it because you're going to need that. You know what?
They are going to be the defendant in the lawsuit that I'm planning on filing against them.
Yeah, and what gets me about that, when I read all of these symptoms, we've got a friend that's been on one for 20 years. We just found out. Has to have it every night in order to sleep so that he doesn't stop breathing. So here are individuals using this machine to keep breathing so that, they don't die in the middle of the night, and yet no one knew that these particles were causing all this damage. And if they've had this damage to themselves, who did they blame? Themselves. Well, heart disease runs in the family, or this happens or that happens, and they're blaming themselves when in fact they could have been damaged by the
very thing that they're using to try to save their life is killing them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to file a lawsuit on it. So if any of you want to be in that lawsuit, just give me a call. We'll step off into the darkness together to see what kind of justice we can bring for them selling that piece of junk.
Yeah, and you'll find out truly when you call Gary the people that are holding companies, even a company this big, accountable for what they do to you.
I've done it before.
It's you and your team.
That's right.
Yeah. That number, 1-800-337-4002, or Gary at GaryCJohnson.com, and we'll give that number and the information again.
Okay, Keith. I see you got a book there in front of you.
Huh.
It's Nancy Collier's Can't Stop Thinking, and there's something you said, oh, my goodness, I just read this, and this is so good.
Well, you said it when we got this book. If you pick it up, you can't lay it down. It's Can't Stop Thinking, Nancy Collier, and I'm reading about the physical self. I think you'll find this fascinating. For most people, the self at the most basic level is the body. I am my body. Our physical form is something solid and tangible that we can point to, something that feels like part of our basic identity. From a young age, we realize that we alone are the ones who experience pain when our finger touches the stove, while our sister who didn't touch the stove doesn't feel that burn. Similarly, it's our leg that breaks when we fall, no one else's leg. What happens to our body is something that seems to separate us from the other people and other bodies, and therefore something that makes us who we are. Furthermore, when our body disappears, so does our personality traits, our words, our memories, all the things that we think of as me. If there's no body, then there's no self. Then in essence, we think we are our body. And yet, if we consider our body at various times throughout life, we find that this solid thing that we call ourself is in fact an entirely different body, depending on when we're doing the considering. The body that we inhabit now is not the same one we had as a child 20 or 10 years ago, or for that matter, even yesterday. It's not only the outside of our body that looks completely different, but also our cells and our organs. They're in the constant process of dying and being reborn. We are literally not made of the same elements physically as we were at birth or even at last year. Our physical form is always changing. To complicate matters more, we are also aware of our body. We can say we have pain in our foot, which would imply that we are not our foot. Something beyond the body is conscious of what's happening in the body. And we can lose whole parts of our body. We can have a foot, a kidney removed, and we are still who we are. So if we can lose a part of the thing called the body, can we fundamentally be this entity called the body? This
profound,
is profound.
We are what we are.
Yes, but we consider ourselves this, and when she points out even our cells, our skins, our
everything about you, Keith, is not what it was probably 7 years ago.
Not 7 months ago. No. Since I've met you?
I'm talking about your body.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding? Yeah, look, what hair I got is white. It wasn't that way 7 years ago or 15 years ago.
Well, I don't have enough hair to know.
But she's making the point that our body continues to change.
I think she's leading up to something.
I think she's setting us up to say that we understand that the body needs to change and to move on, and we're willing to do that.
Well, we don't have a choice.
But we don't do that with our thoughts.
In fact, what does she say next about it? Because I suspect she was leading up to something about our brain.
Oh, she goes in, now let's talk about the thinking self.
Okay.
If we're not the body, then we must be our thoughts. What's going on in our mind must contain our essential nature, our oneness. The problem, however, is that thoughts are also changing from moment to moment, and no thought will stick around for very long. How can we be something that is always changing? And furthermore, we can witness our thoughts. Something in us is aware of their content as well as their appearance and disappearance. Therefore, who we are must be bigger or more expansive than even our thoughts. Something must sit behind even the thoughts. We can't be what we can't witness. No matter where we're looking for this self, ourself, the little me, we uncover only process of change. There appears to be no actual self we can find, touch, or locate within our head, heart, or anywhere else. Our self must be continually reestablished and reassembled, culled together from memory, thoughts, and present conditions. We can talk about the self, describe it, but that appears to be just about as close as we can get. And yet, despite the evidence, we continue to believe and invest in me that's constant and unchanging, a solid, real somebody deserving of our undying loyalty and protection. We are so convinced of this truth, in fact, that we spend our entire lives defending the concept called me.
When me's changing.
This lady is brilliant. And we're starting to see a lot more of these books. People are showing up with them. Mm-hmm. So they're going out and buying Nancy Collier. But what a great chapter for someone that is sitting here saying, I can't get over this. This happened to me. I'll never be able to move forward. She's saying you're moving forward whether you want to or not. You might as well accept it.
And you need to turn it loose.
Go with the flow.
When the wave comes, you can either stand there and be knocked over by it, or you can get on a surfboard and ride it.
So, yeah, it's just like if we went out to the river, you and I, and jumped into the current, we'd do a lot better going down current than we would trying to go back up, wouldn't we?
We've tried that too many times.
way too many times. But that's what we're doing in our lives. Instead of moving forward and embracing the change, we're stuck on this movie that we're trying to replay, and we're saying these words: that's me. I'm a failure. That's me. I made a mistake. That's me. Things didn't work out. And she's saying, no, that was you at the time. It's not you anymore. You've moved on.
So turn it loose.
Let it go. Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
If you can.
Well, what I liked about what she said is you are, without knowing it, she's just asking you to embrace the fact that you have. As much as your physical appearance has changed, your mental thoughts have changed. We embrace the physical. I look in the mirror right now, and I know I'm not 25. I realize what I see in the mirror. She's saying that's the same thing with our thoughts. It's not the same either.
What's that saying? To change is to grow.
Oh.
To have changed often is to have grown much.
Gary, when you know, and a lot of us used to say, oh, I don't like change. I'm probably one of those people. You know, I like going to the same restaurant, sitting at the same table, ordering the same meal. Got most of the same friends I've had all my life. We don't embrace change. And she's saying change is good. I'm not saying get rid of your friends or don't order your favorite meal, but she's saying you changing and growing is good.
We were built by the good Lord to change.
Yes.
It's how we survive, is change.
We would have never gotten anything accomplished, would we?
Well, just look at the changes that's happening just everywhere in technology, in the world. And I mean, who would have ever believed in a jet airplane 100 years ago? Just a jet.
Oh.
Who would have ever fantasized this iPhone?
I was going to say, you and I were working in Lexington the other day, and I was coming back, and one of the phone calls I was on dropped. And when I called back, the individual said, oh, man, I can't believe that call dropped. And I'm like, you know, just a couple of years ago, we were riding around going, can you believe I'm in the car and I'm on the telephone talking? And now we're to the point that, you know, if a call drops, we're upset. We were tickled to death 20 years ago when we got the phone, weren't we?
My friends, are we starting to be a little bit happier this year? That's the question.
I'm afraid not to be.
Well, you've only got this little bitty dash that we've talked about before. You now understand from listening to my program and Keith over the years that there'll never be another entity in the universe like you. You're that unique.
Mm-hmm.
You've learned, my friends, from listening to not let anyone put you down and make you feel unworthy. You've learned, I hope, when you're reliving things you can't change, to not buy into them and feel them, to just watch them. You can't change your thoughts. You can't prevent them from happening. But you don't have to participate with them, those negative thoughts.
Gary, are we much like the iPhone you have laying there? I mean, I know how to make a call, text, or read an email, but I don't know all the things it does. You're sitting here talking about the miracle that we are, that our friends are. Every person listening, their body, their mind, it's such a miracle. But have they only learned to text and make a call and read an email? Do they truly know the miracle that they are?
The awe of the human body, absolutely, I find fascinating. We have an electrical power plant, an electrical system in our body.
Mm-hmm.
That transmits electrical impulses over our nerves. Now, how does it do that?
We didn't figure it out.
It can take an apple or an orange or something and turn it into stuff that is nutrients and things that you need to live.
Yeah.
And it feeds your muscles, and it feeds your heart, and it feeds the rest of your body. How does it happen? The human body is a miracle beyond all miracles.
Mm.
And to make a human body so unique that there will never be another human body like it. And yet we think we are unworthy.
Isn't that
I had a
amazing?
client the other day say to me about 2 grandkids. She says, now one is like upper middle class,
Yeah.
and the other one is from the family, the low-life family,
A little lower class.
lower class.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, how could you say that? They are equally human beings. They're
both miracles.
They're both miracles walking the earth. And those kids neither one of them had any say in their economic circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And it just saddened me to hear her say that. And she didn't even know what she's saying.
Because we've been conditioned to judge upon things that we see and by actions, and we want to say this is this and this is that.
Money can't buy happiness. Now, it can buy medical care. It can buy cars. It can buy homes. It can buy all kinds of stuff.
You know, the first time you ever said, Keith, money can't buy happiness, I said, Gary, the only people that say that is rich people. And you said, who do you think knows? That's why they're saying that. It was a great point you made.
And I'm going to remind you folks again, in the meter of scales, the happiest people in the world is an Aborigine tribe in Africa, the Maasais, that has no running water, no electricity. They live by herding cattle, and they have nothing. Their huts are made of cow dung,
Mm-hmm.
and yet, as far as happy, they're the happiest people in the world.
But I bet they have strong family ties.
And I bet you they don't worry a bit about what's going to happen in the future.
You got that right. Listen, we're just about out of time. I do need to mention this again at the start of the program. The Philips CPAP machine. You need to give Gary a call if you've been using one, if a neighbor has or a friend. It has been recalled, and the list of things that it could cause are enormous, from lung cancer to stroke to heart attack to kidney cancer to kidney disease. You can find out all the information because lawyers will be standing by to help you with this information and the compensation that this machine has caused. 1-800-337-4002 or Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. Give them a call today. My friend, good program. Thank you for the information. We're all changing, whether we like it or not. Now we just got to decide to accept it, right?
Surrender to it.
You can catch Gary's television show Tuesday night in Eastern Kentucky on WYMT, your CBS affiliate, at 7 p.m. A late-night replay is on your CBS affiliate in Central Kentucky, WKYT. If you start the week early or start the weekend early, catch us on the Fox affiliate at 6:30 a.m. on Monday and on Friday. If you need to get in touch with Gary, 1-800-337-4002 or Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. My friend, you've given us a lot to think about. Thank you for being here.
Don't think too much.
No, can't stop thinking. Nancy Collier. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for listening to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.